Hi everyone, welcome back. Today we're talking about follow through. And I want to be really clear up front that this is not a video about trying harder. If trying harder worked, you'd already have this figured out. What we're actually doing today is building a repeatable process, something you can come back to every time you hit that wall and have a problem finishing what you've started. Hey, if you don't know me, I am Shannon Schroeder, the F-Bomb coach, and I help ADHD women build sustainable systems for their businesses to calm some of the chaos in their lives. So let's get into it. So here's the thing. Most productivity advice for finishing things is aimed at neurotypical brains. Break it into smaller pieces. Sure, great. I talk about doing that. There's nothing wrong with that. But for an ADHD brain, even the small pieces can feel impossible to start. And then you feel worse because you couldn't even do the small thing. What I found that works with a lot of neurodivergent entrepreneurs is that follow through breaks down in pretty predictable places. And once you know where your breakdown happens, you can build around it. That's what this formula does. So here are the 5 steps. We're going to go through each one and I'm going to give you something concrete for each of them. You don't have to use all 5 every time. This is a menu. Some projects you're going to need all 5. Sometimes you just need 1 or 2. The goal is that you have options instead of staring at a blank screen wondering why you can't make yourself do the thing. So we have shrink it, anchor it, borrow the momentum, build in the break, and make it count. So step 1, shrink it. Break it into smaller pieces isn't wrong. It's just not specific enough. What I mean by shrink it is make it so small that your brain literally can't argue with it. The ADHD brain has this thing where the task in your head is always bigger than it actually is. You're not dreading the 10-minute task. You're dreading the version of it that lives in your imagination, which feels like a 4-hour monster. So we shrink it down to something so tiny that it almost feels embarrassing. Silly small is what we're looking for. And then you just do that thing, not the whole project, that one tiny thing. A lot of the time, starting is the hardest part. And once you're in motion, momentum will kick in on its own. So it's not write the email, it's write the first sentence, because one sentence is pretty easy. Not film the video, it's open the doc and read it out loud once. Not finish the module, record 10 minutes and stop. Sometimes, if it's something that you really hate doing, the smallest version is open your laptop, open a Google Doc. It can be that small, super small to make it a no-brainer. Step 2, anchor it. Time blindness is real. And when you say things like, I'll do it later, is basically your brain's way of saying, I'm never going to do it. Not because you're lazy, but because later doesn't feel real yet. So we anchor tasks to things that already exist in your day. After I eat lunch, right when I sit down at my desk, the 5 minutes before my next call. These are concrete moments that you can use that your brain can actually track. Pair the new behavior with something that already has momentum. Don't try to create a whole new routine from scratch because you're going to struggle with that. Just attach the task to something that is already happening. Step 3, borrow the momentum. This is one of my favorites because it completely reframes the motivation problem. We're taught that motivation should come first. You feel motivated, then you start. But for a lot of neurodivergent brains, it works the other way around. You start something small, and then the motivation follows. So if you're waiting to feel ready, you might be waiting a really long time. Instead, borrow the momentum from somewhere else. Something like body doubling. That works because there's already something happening there. When there's another human presence, even whether it's, on a Zoom call, it doesn't have to be in person. Don't even have to talk to the other person. It helps your brain stay on task. That's going to help the momentum. Commitment devices work because they add a tiny bit of social accountability, which creates just enough urgency for the brain to engage. You've said it out loud. You've told someone you're going to do it. Now you feel like, oh, I got to do it because I said I was going to out loud to another person. Stacking tasks during already productive moments, like when you're already in the flow, that's working smarter. And the 2-minute runway. Do something easy first, like do that easy thing, and then it's a slip and slide to get where you need to be. Step 4, build in the break. This step is sneaky but important. We spend a lot of time talking about how to start things, but not enough time talking about what happens in the messy middle. That's where most projects die. They fall apart. The excitement is gone. The end isn't in sight. And so your brain is looking for anything else to do. So what we do is we build in the break before we start. That means you decide in advance what done enough is to move forward looks like. Not perfect, done enough. And you decide in advance when you're going to stop for the day, not based on finishing, but based on time. This is protective because it stops that all or nothing spiral. It stops the perfectionism because you didn't fail because you stopped. You stopped because that was the plan. You decide ahead of time before you get stuck in that messy middle part. And step number 5, last step. This one is one that most people are going to skip because when you finish something, even small things, your brain needs a moment to actually register that it happened. ADHD brains have blunted dopamine response to completing things, which is part of why nothing ever feels done, at least done enough, and why you can cross something off a list and immediately feel nothing. So we manufacture that moment. It doesn't have to be a big celebration. It can be something as simple as I did that, and then checking something off a physical list. The physical act matters. A tiny reward, a walk, a good cup of coffee, 5 minutes of doing something that you really enjoy. The key is that it's connected to the finish, not just the effort. This teaches your brain that something is worth finish, something that's finished is worth something. And over time, that feedback loop makes it easier to actually follow through. So now you need to put it all together, and I want you to actually do this, not just watch me talk about it. Think of one thing that's been sitting on your list, something that's partially done or that you keep avoiding. Run it through the 5 steps right now. What's the tiny version? When is it happening? What's going to help you get started? What's good enough? And what happens when you finish? Write those answers down somewhere, not in your head, because we know you can't rely on your memory, on a piece of paper, on a note, in the notes app, in your phone, somewhere real. Because the second you close this video, I want you to move on it. I want you to start doing those things. And this formula is only going to work if you get it out of your head and into the world, into your to-do list, your planner, your system for the day. And that's the follow-through formula. 5 steps, none of which that require you to be a different person or develop super willpower. This is about building conditions that work with how your brain actually operates instead of fighting against it. If this resonated with you, I'd love for you to like it, subscribe so that other people can find it. And if you know someone else that would benefit from watching this, please feel free to share it. Thank you. See you in the next one.